The Department of Health monitors 7 municipalities and cities in Negros Oriental for possible cases of measles infection. Price of rice shoots up while a suggested retail price or SRP on commercial rice is under study. And Malacañang mulls a filing of new charges against other personalities on MRT3 anomalies. Y News begins now.
From the UNTV News and Rescue Command Center in Quezon City, this is Y News.
Good evening. The Department of Health or DOH is monitoring 7 municipalities and cities in Negros Oriental and appeals to the public to patronize the government's vaccination program. Here's why from Aiko Miguel.
The Department of Health or DOH confirms that several towns and cities of Negros Oriental declare measles outbreak due to 21 reported cases of the said disease. The cases are recorded in the municipalities of Bacong, Mabinay, Santa Catalina, San Jose, Siaton, Valencia, and Dumaguete City.
Wala pa tayong confirmed cases. We're going to send the teams pa and then monitor and then get samples to confirm.
DOH Undersecretary Eric Domingo says the said towns and cities are remote areas not reached by the government's immunization program. Domingo says the Dengvaxia controversy also added to public sphere. That's why some are deciding to not patronize the government's free vaccination. Once the DOH confirms that there are measles cases in Negros Oriental, the DOH will immediately send a team to conduct house-to-house vaccination, especially to children aged 6 months old to 5 years old. Aside from Negros Oriental, cases of measles are also recorded in Davao, Zamboanga, and Taguig City. The government currently implements mass vaccination in the said areas. Due to the rising number of measles cases, the DOH is calling on parents to patronize the free vaccination the government offers for measles and other diseases to prevent an outbreak in other areas. Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue, Manila.
The National Economic Development Authority calls on the Department of Trade and Industry to set measures to curb the inflation in the coming months. Meanwhile, the National Price Coordinating Council plans to put a suggested retail price on commercial rice. Monokson will tell us why.
Joseph is worried because of the rice price hike. He owns a small restaurant that consumes more than 3 sacks of rice every week due to the number of patrons coming in. If the rice price hike continues, he might look for cheaper brands that will fit his budget.
Kasi ang kadalasan po nangyayari, puro taas lang po, walang baba.
In the latest monitoring of the National Price Coordinating Council or NPCC, there is a big increase in the price of rice following the implementation of the train law. Regular milled rice is now at 40 pesos from 37 pesos per kilo. Well-milled increased by 2 pesos from its price of 40 per kilo, while premium rice also increased by 1 peso per kilo. The price of special rice, on the other hand, did not move. The reason for the increase, according to retailers, is the increase in the price of petroleum products and transportation costs. With this development, NPCC is now planning to put an SRP in the prices of commercial rice.
Mahirap maglagay ng SRP. It's usually market-driven. And depende yan sa ganda ng harvest, sa lakas ng demand.
Meanwhile, the National Economic Development Authority calls on the Trade Department to implement measures that will curb the effect of inflation on the consumers. Last February, NEDA recorded a 3.9% inflation. This means that prices of products increased significantly.
The others will be caused by depreciation of the peso, seasonality of crops, maybe shortage in supply of certain goods during those times.
NEDA advises the government to expand the 4Ps or Pantawid Pamilya program to help poor families. The DTI also needs to intensify its monitoring efforts to avoid profiteering. The DTI will also implement the SRP on small convenience stores at the soonest possible time. With this, profiteering will be avoided, and the DTI will also have a broader monitoring of prices even in far-flung areas. Mon Hokson, UNTV News and Rescue, Makati City.
The Department of Social Welfare and Development, or DSWD, begins the distribution of more than 20 billion peso worth of aid for poor Filipinos. Maris Federes will tell us why.
The Department of Social Welfare and Development, or DSWD, begins the distribution of 24 billion peso worth of financial aid to 10 million indigent Filipino beneficiaries of the Unconditional Cash Transfer Program, or UCT. The UCT is a program mandated by the Train Law as aid to individuals who might be affected by its implementation. The law states that 10 million individuals will benefit from the said program. 4.4 million of them are members of the Pantawid Pamilya program. 3 million are elderly and indigent beneficiaries of the Social Pension program, while 2.6 million are in the list of the DSWD who will still have to undergo validation.
Inaasahan kasi natin na bagamat hindi dapat ganun kalaki ang magiging impact ng train sa inflation, gusto nating matulungan ang mga mamamayan na kung magtaas man ang presyo ay meron naman silang huhugutin na pantulong.
DSWD Officer in Charge Emmanuel Leco says the program will be effective for 3 years. Beneficiaries will receive 200 pesos monthly, or a total of 2,400 this year. The monetary assistance will increase to 300 pesos monthly, or 3,600 in 2019 and 2020.
Kaya po, ang napagkayarian namin dito sa DSWD ay ibigay ng buo, 2,400 kaysa doon sa 200 a month.
One of the beneficiaries who first withdraw the monetary assistance is Jinky de la Peña, a beneficiary under the Pantawid Pamilyang Pilipino program.
Kung tutusin ko lang, diba? Kaso lang po, meron naman po kaming cash grant po eh. So parang dagdag na lang po.
Meanwhile, Ricky Lopez is thankful, saying the cash grant is a huge help in sending his child to school.
Magpapasalamat po ako sa ngayon dahil nadagdagan po yung binibigay sa amin.
Maris Federes, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
Senate Majority Leader Vicente Soto III presents some evidence that he claims will prove that there is an irregularity in the last 2016 national elections. Nel Maribuhok will tell us why.
The integrity of these Markmatics vote counting machines is now being questioned after Senate Majority Leader Vicente Soto III presented evidence on the alleged fraud in the 2016 national elections. The senator shows during his privileged speech some information regarding the apparent early transmission activity that happened on May 8 up to the morning of May 9, the election day. Based on the transmission codes, the activity came from the consolidated canvassing system of Libon Albay and Angono Rizal.
These transmissions, Mr. President, cannot be in any way claimed as testing transmissions. Because as far as I can remember, the last official testing was made on April 23, 2016.
The second alleged malicious activity is the foreign access in the election servers.
One day prior to election, this username made a malicious activity that is categorized as a critical intrusion to a computer system.
Because of this, some senators now question the possible effects of the said malicious activities to the election results.
Meron po bang mga nakinabang at nawalan dito sa inyong nilahad sa inyong privilege speech?
Yung nakinabang, perhaps, Mr. President, if the subpoenaed logs will be presented by COMELEC and Smartmatic, malalaman natin kung sino yung mga nakinabang. I do not want to rely on what was just given to me as hearsay. Now, dun sa mga hindi nakinabang, na susunod na tanong mo, at tiyak na marami. Like Senator Poe and Senator Lacson, dami kayong nasiro.
Senator Soto calls for a Senate investigation, especially now the COMELEC commissioners unanimously voted to purchase the VCMs used in the previous election, which in turn will will be used in the 2019 polls. Nel Maribuho, UNTV News and Rescue, Senate of the Philippines.
The Department of the Interior and Local Government supports NAMFREL's proposal to require local election candidates to submit their curriculum vitae or resume. Aiko Miguel will tell us why.
The National Citizens Movement for Free Elections, or NAMFREL, recently recommended to the Commission on Elections, or COMELEC, to require candidates of the barangay and sangguniang kabataan elections to submit their resume. This is to determine if they really have the ability to lead a government position. The Department of the Interior and Local Government, or DILG, has agreed with the said recommendation. According to DILG Assistant Secretary Jonathan Malaya, the proposal could help voters wisely select their leaders.
Because sa tingin po namin, ang pagsumiti ng resume ay isang paraan para mas masuri ng mga kabarangay ang kwalifikasyon ng mga gustong tumakbo.
However, the DILG clarifies it will not require the candidates to submit their resumes, but notes poll candidates seeking to show transparency are welcome to do so. Candidates will be required to submit their resume only when the COMELEC issues a resolution about it. Meanwhile, DILG reminds candidates that winners could not assume post pending their submission of their statement of contribution and expenditure before the 13th of June. Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
Although President Rodrigo Duterte himself admits that political dynasty is bad, he also believes it can sometimes be better, like what happened in Davao City. Here's why from Rosalie Cos.
President Rodrigo Duterte admits before thousands of entrepreneurs, advocates, and students that political dynasty is bad. He made the statement when he led the 10th Filipina Entrepreneurship Summit in Pasay City this afternoon. However, the president also said political dynasty can sometimes be better, like what happened in Davao City. The chief executive adds that if his daughter Inday Sara did not run for mayor in Davao City, he would not be the president now.
It took me about 22 years to craft what Davao is today. Now, I am just lucky. I agree with you that dynasties are bad. But sometimes it can be for the better. Kasi kung hindi tumakbo yan si Inday actually, I would not be in front of you right now. Kasi I never wanted to leave Davao. Manghinayang ako eh.
Former Supreme Court Chief Justice Reynato Puno, also the current chairperson of Consultative Committee on the proposed amendment of the Constitution, says political dynasty must be neutralized before shifting into a federal form of government because the Constitution will grant them sovereign powers. Meanwhile, the chief executive also revealed that the government will give additional funds to the Philippine General Hospital, Veterans Memorial Medical Center, as well as the AFP Medical Center for their daily operations. This is to further help those who are in need and cannot afford medications.
I'll give you monthly 100 million. Bigo kay Andrea Pagcor, bigay mo yung kita mo dyan sa itong Philippine veterans, mga sundalo, their management. Pag matanda na ang sundalo, usually diabetes, kidney, kalamin na kidney. So the Philippine veteran gets 50 million a month. Ang AFP gets another 50 million. Para maintindihan lang ninyo kung saan ang pera ninyo.
Rosalie Cos, UNTV News and Rescue, Pasay City.
Another batch of repatriated overseas Filipino workers from Kuwait has arrived at the Ninoy Aquino International Airport today. Rajel Adora will tell us why.
A total of 260 overseas Filipino workers from Kuwait have arrived in Ninoy Aquino International Airport today. According to Overseas Workers Welfare Administration Administrator Henry Leo Kakdak, the total repatriated OFW already reached 2,810. Kakdak adds that the OWA members will receive a maximum of 20,000 pesos livelihood assistance.
Parang startup, micro business, meron namang selection ng mga 100 suggested business ideas na pagpipilian.
The Filipino workers are very glad that they were finally able to come home. One of them is Zubaida Abdul Tulambo, who escaped from her agency in Kuwait. According to her, physical abuse is prevalent among Filipino workers there.
Yung bang pinagtutulak-tulakan ako sa elevator. Kasi sabi niya hindi daw ako nagtatrabaho sa bahay na pinupuntahan ko. Sabi naman ng mga amo na napupuntahan ko, gusto nila yung trabaho ko.
OWA expects 4,300 more repatriated OFWs to arrive until April 22. Rogel Adora, UNTV, News and Rescue, Pasay City.
Malacañang orders the Office of the Solicitor General to file new charges against other personalities who may have caused current problems in the MRT3 operations. Here's why from Rosalie Cos.
Aside from his previous order to file plunder complaints against 9 former officials of the past administration on the MRT3 maintenance deal, President Rodrigo Duterte also directed Solicitor General Jose Calida to look further into the matter for possible charges that can be filed against other personalities that had been responsible of the current mess in the said mass transit. Plunder charges were filed before the Office of the Ombudsman against former Transportation Secretary June Abaya and former Interior and Local Government Secretary Mar Rojas.
There could be other new ones because apparently the problem lies not just with Buri, the problem also lies with the current owners of MRT3.
With this development, the government is looking for long-term solution on the said MRT3 woes. Based on what was discussed in yesterday's 23rd Cabinet meeting of President Duterte, this long-term solution comes in the form of arranging for a new ownership of the MRT3. This is aside from the ones in charge of the maintenance and operation.
As you know, the ownership of MRT3 is a private corporation. No? So they are thinking of changing the owners because we've had many problems with the current owners.
Currently, the private company Metro Rail Transit Corporation owns MRT Line 3. Another solution that the government is looking into is the procurement of all necessary spare parts and to enter into a new contract with the MRT3 original maintenance contractor, Japan Sumitomo Corporation. Rosa Licos, UNTV News and Rescue, Malacañang.
Oil firms implemented an increase in the prices of fuel products today. According to industry players, prices of diesel go up by 30 centavos per liter. Gasoline prices rise by 50 centavos per liter, while kerosene prices increase by 80 centavos per liter. The Department of Energy says the fuel price hike is due to the movement in the prices of oil in the world market and the weakening of the value of peso. Next on Y News. The Armed Forces of the Philippines is still verifying reports on 23 armed groups collaborating under ISIS Philippines. And the Philippine Institute of Volcanology and Seismology or PHIVOLCS downgrades Mayon alert status to level 3. Y News will be right back. I'm Darlene Basingan. Stay tuned for Angelo Castro III. Good evening.
On Y News tonight, the Department of Health monitors 7 municipalities and cities in Negros Oriental for possible cases of measles infection. Price of rice shoots up while a suggested retail price or SRP on commercial rice is under study. And Malacañang mulls filing new charges against other personalities on MR3 anomalies. Good evening. Malacañang orders Solicitor General Jose Calida to look into the problems in the MRT3 to check for possible new charges that the government can file against other personalities that had been responsible for the current mess in the said mass transit. Presidential spokesperson Secretary Harry Roque says the problems in the MRT3 could also be blamed to its current owners. Plunder charges were previously filed before the Office of the Ombudsman against former Transportation Secretary June Abaya, former Interior and Local Government Secretary Mar Rojas, and MRT3 former maintenance provider Buri.
I know there was already a case
Yeah.
filed for Buri, but there could be other cases filed as well.
New ones you're talking
There
about.
could be other new ones because apparently the problem lies not just with Buri, the problem also lies with the current owners of MRT3.
The Department of Health, or DOH, is monitoring 7 municipalities and cities in Negros Oriental and appeals to the public to patronize the government's vaccination program. Here's why from Aiko Miguel.
The Department of Health or DOH confirms that several towns and cities of Negros Oriental declare measles outbreak due to 21 reported cases of the said disease. The cases are recorded in the municipalities of Bacong, Mabinay, Santa Catalina, San Jose, Siaton, Valencia, and Dumaguete City.
Wala pa tayong confirmed cases. We're going to send the teams pa and then monitor and then get samples to confirm.
DOH Undersecretary Eric Domingo says the said towns and cities are remote areas not reached by the government's immunization program. Domingo says the dengue vaccine controversy also added to public sphere. That's why some are deciding to not patronize the government's free vaccination. Once the DOH confirms that there are measles cases in Negros Oriental, the DOH will immediately send a team to conduct house-to-house vaccination, especially to children aged 6 months old to 5 years old. Aside from Negros Oriental, cases of measles are also recorded in Davao, Zamboanga, and Taguig City. The government currently implements mass vaccination in the said areas. Due to the rising number of measles cases, the DOH is calling on parents to patronize the free vaccination the government offers for measles and other diseases to prevent an outbreak in other areas. Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue, Manila.
The National Economic Development Authority calls on the Department of Trade and Industry to set measures to curb the inflation in the coming months. Meanwhile, the National Price Coordinating Council plans to put a suggested retail price on commercial rice. Monokson will tell us why.
Joseph is worried because of the rice price hike. He owns a small restaurant that consumes more than 3 sacks of rice every week due to the number of patrons coming in. If the rice price hike continues, he might look for cheaper brands that will fit his budget.
Kasi ang kadalasan po nangyayari, puro taas lang po, walang baba.
In the latest monitoring of the National Price Coordinating Council or NPCC, there is a big increase in the price of rice following the implementation of the train law. Regular milled rice is now at 40 pesos from 37 pesos per kilo. Well-milled increased by 2 pesos from its price of 40 per kilo, while premium rice also increased by 1 peso per kilo. The price of special rice, on the other hand, did not move. The reason for the increase, according to retailers, is the increase in the price of petroleum products and transportation costs. With this development, NPCC is now planning to put an SRP in the prices of commercial rice.
Mahirap maglagay ng SRP. It's usually market-driven and depende yan sa ganda ng harvest, sa lakas ng demand.
Meanwhile, the National Economic Development Authority calls on the Trade Department to implement measures that will curb the effect of inflation on the consumers. Last February, NEDA recorded a 3.9% inflation. This means that prices of products increased significantly.
The others will be caused by depreciation of the peso, seasonality of crops, maybe shortage in supply of certain goods during those times.
NEDA advises the government to expand the 4Ps or Pantawid Pamilya program to help poor families. The DTI also needs to intensify its monitoring efforts to avoid profiteering. The DTI will also implement the SRP on small convenience stores at the soonest possible time. With this, profiteering will be avoided, and the DTI will also have a broader monitoring of prices even in far-flung areas. Mon Hokson, UNTV News and Rescue, Makati City.
The consultative committee, who is tasked to review the 1987 Philippine Constitution, discussed the possibility of imposing a college degree educational requirement for presidential candidates under a federal form of government. Under the current law, a presidential candidate is required to be a natural-born citizen. A registered voter must be able to read and write, at least 40 years old on election day, and a resident of the country for 10 years. For former Senate President Nene Pimentel, academic degrees are required for elective officials in Congress and in the executive branch as those in the appointed posts in government. Former Chief Justice Renato Puno, meanwhile, cited a Philippine Statistics Authority data telling that only 10% of the country's population are college graduates.
It is quite low. So that if you impose that requirement, then only a certain small percentage of people will be able to qualify for the position of president.
The Armed Forces of the Philippines, or AFP, cannot yet confirm reports of a collaboration among terrorist groups to form the so-called ISIS Philippines. Here's why from Lea Ilagan.
The Armed Forces of the Philippines, or AFP, says the remaining terrorists are still recruiting and strengthening their forces. 23 armed groups are believed to have joined forces under the so-called ISIS Philippines. However, the AFP is still verifying the said information. The military is also looking into intelligence reports that a certain Abu Dar replaced Isnilon Hapilon as the emir of the Islamic State, or ISIS, in Southeast Asia. Abu Dar, a Maranao, was able to flee the clashes in Marawi City and believed to have brought with him a huge sum of money.
We are trying to confirm that, the veracity of that information.
The AFP notes terrorists continue to recruit new members, organize and retrain themselves. The military and the police are also verifying a circulating text message saying terrorists are planning to bomb 6 cities. The said text message states a leaked copy of the Philippine National Police Region 10 in Cagayan de Oro City.
We are closely monitoring them to make sure that they will not conduct or execute any atrocities, terroristic actions within the metropolis or any urban areas.
This is being validated, but this should not be a cause for panic or alarm sa ating mga kababayan.
Lea Ilagan, UNTV, News and Rescue Camp Crame.
The local government of Albay soon will allow residents with homes within the 8-kilometer extended danger zone around Mayon volcano to return. Here's why from Monokson.
At past 8 in the morning today, the Philippine Institute of Volcanology and Seismology, or PHIVOLCS, downgrades to 3 the alert level for Mayon volcano. This is due to the fewer recorded activities of Mount Mayon.
Mostly ang nare-record na lang natin ngayon yung superficial events na rock falls, tapos yung mga low frequency events na associated lang sa degassing shallow surface.
With the downgrading of alert level for Mount Mayon, the local government of Albay has allowed the return of 55,000 evacuees with homes within the 8-kilometer danger around the volcano.
Doon sa decampment, i-consider pa rin namin yung post-disaster support na kailangan ibigay din sa kanila habang pinauwi na dahil siyempre wala pa silang kabuhayan.
More than 2,000 families will remain at evacuation centers with homes within the 6-kilometer permanent danger zone and 7-kilometer extended danger zone. This is while the alert level for the volcano has not yet been lowered down to 2. Mon Hokson, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
Tobacco companies are expected to imprint onto their cigarette packs at the soonest possible time the new graphic health warning released today by the Department of Health. Here's why from Aiko Miguel.
The Graphic Health Warning Law or Republic Act 10643 mandates the Department of Health or DOH to release new graphic health warning labels for cigarette packs in every 2 years. It was on March 3 when the DOH released the new templates. The new templates show the health dangers of smoking cigarettes such as gangrene, emphysema, neck cancer, mouth cancer, asthma, still and premature birth.
The old ones, parang syempre nakuha na sila doon, saturated na, and they're somehow numb or immune to it. So they just ignore those old graphic warnings. So part of the strategy is really to ensure that you have new graphic health warnings each time.
The Graphic Health Warning Law states that the Bureau of Internal Revenue or BIR will be the lead agency to monitor and implement the said law, especially in terms of imposing taxes.
We set it at March 3 and monitoring and implementation is supposed to be done by BIR sa yung taxes.
Based on the figures of the World Health Organization, there are 1.4 billion smokers worldwide and 4.9 million die yearly due to smoking. DOH figures, meanwhile, show that 240 Filipino smokers die every day. The Health Department is hoping that the implementation of the said law will help lower the cases of respiratory illnesses and death cases due to smoking. Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue, Manila.
Authorities arrested and detained 4 college students in Manila. Here's why from Rajel Adora.
These 4 college students are now in jail for allegedly mauling their fellow students along Lerma Street in Sampaloc, Manila yesterday. The victims say the turmoil began when one of the suspects acted indecently towards the partner of one of the victims.
Marami daw po nang bugbog na sa mga 15 na katao. So sila lang yung inabutan doon kasi in-identify sila nitong mga biktima.
Aside from mauling, 2 of the victims also sustained cuts and stab wounds in different parts of their bodies. The suspects will face attempted murder charges. Authorities also seized from 2 of the accused 1 kilogram of marijuana with a street value of 12,000 pesos and a caliber .22 gun with 5 bullets. The students caught possessing firearms will face charges for violating the Republic Act 10591 or the Comprehensive Firearms and Ammunition Regulation Act, while the one caught with marijuana will face charges for violating the Republic Act 9165 or the Comprehensive Dangerous Drugs Act of 2002. The 4 students might also be expelled from their school due to the incident. Authorities are still searching for the other suspects in the crime. Rajel Adora, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
Up next on Y News. The Supreme Court orders Chief Justice Maria Lourdes Sereno to comment on quo warranto petition filed by the Office of the Solicitor General. And the Department of the Interior and Local Government probes the use of past environmental fee collections in Boracay Island. Stay tuned for William Theo. I'm Angelo Castro III, and this is Y News. Good evening.
Here are the headlines on Y News tonight. The Department of Health monitors 7 municipalities and cities in Negros Oriental where possible cases of measles infection. Price of rice shoots up while a suggested retail price on commercial rice is. And Malacañang mulls filing new charges against other personalities on MRT3 anomalies. Good evening. The National Economic Development Authority calls on the Department of Trade and Industry to set measures to curb the inflation in the coming months. Meanwhile, the National Price Coordinating Council plans to put a suggested retail price on commercial rice. Mon Hokson will tell us why.
Joseph is worried because of the rice price hike. He owns a small restaurant that consumes more than 3 sacks of rice every week due to the number of patrons coming in. If the rice price hike continues, he might look for cheaper brands that will fit his budget.
Kasi ang kadalasan po nangyayari, puro taas lang po, walang baba.
In the latest monitoring of the National Price Coordinating Council or NPCC, there is a big increase in the price of rice following the implementation of the train law. Regular milled rice is now at 40 pesos from 37 pesos per kilo. Well-milled increased by 2 pesos from its price of 40 per kilo, while premium rice also increased by 1 peso per kilo. The price of special rice, on the other hand, did not move. The reason for the increase, according to retailers, is the increase in the price of petroleum products and transportation costs. With this development, NPCC is now planning to put an SRP in the prices of commercial rice.
Mahirap maglagay ng SRP. It's usually market-driven. And depende yan sa ganda ng harvest, sa lakas ng demand.
Meanwhile, the National Economic Development Authority calls on the Trade Department to implement measures that will curb the effect of inflation on the consumers. Last February, NEDA recorded a 3.9% inflation. This means that prices of products increased significantly.
The others will be caused by depreciation of the peso, seasonality of crops, maybe shortage in supply of certain goods during those times.
NEDA advises the government to expand the 4Ps or Pantawid Pamilya program to help poor families. The DTI also needs to intensify its monitoring efforts to avoid profiteering. The DTI will also implement the SRP on small convenience stores at the soonest possible time. With this, profiteering will be avoided, and the DTI will also have a broader monitoring of prices even in far-flung areas. Mon Hokson, UNTV News and Rescue, Makati City.
Meanwhile, the Department of Health or DOH is monitoring 7 municipalities and cities in Negros Oriental and appeals to the public to patronize the government's vaccination program. Here's why from Aiko Miguel.
The Department of Health or DOH confirms that several towns and cities of Negros Oriental declare measles outbreak due to 21 reported cases of the said disease. The cases are recorded in the municipalities of Bacong, Mabinay, Santa Catalina, San Jose, Siaton, Valencia, and Dumaguete City.
Wala pa tayong confirmed cases. We're going to send the teams pa and then monitor and then get samples to confirm.
DOH Undersecretary Eric Domingo says the said towns and cities are remote areas not reached by the government's immunization program. Domingo says the dengue vaccine controversy also added to public sphere. That's why some are deciding to not patronize the government's free vaccination. Once the DOH confirms that there are measles cases in Negros Oriental, the DOH will immediately send a team to conduct house-to-house vaccination, especially to children aged 6 months old to 5 years old. Aside from Negros Oriental, cases of measles are also recorded in Davao, Zamboanga, and Taguig City. The government currently implements mass vaccination in the said areas. Due to the rising number of measles cases, the DOH is calling on parents to patronize the free vaccination the government offers for measles and other diseases to prevent an outbreak in other areas. Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue, Manila.
In other news, Malacañang orders Solicitor General Jose Calida to look into the problems in the MRT3 to check for possible new charges that the government can file against other personalities that had been responsible for the current mess in the said mass transit. Presidential spokesperson Secretary Harry Roque says the problem in the MRT3 could also be blamed to its current owners. Plunder charges were previously filed before the Office of the Ombudsman against former Transportation Secretary June Abaya, former Interior and Local Government Secretary Mar Rojas, and MRT3 former maintenance provider Buri.
I know there was already a case filed for Buri, but there could be other cases filed as well.
New ones you're talking
There
about?
could be other new ones because apparently the problem lies not just with Buri, the problem also lies with the current owners of MRT3.
The Supreme Court, or SC, has required Chief Justice Maria Lourdes Sereno to submit her comment on the petition seeking to unseat her as the top magistrate of the country. Roderick Mendoza will tell us why.
The Supreme Court has given Chief Justice Maria Lourdes Sereno 10 days to answer the petition filed by the Solicitor General. However, this doesn't mean that the court will already decide the merits of the case.
The court, without giving due course to the petition, required the respondent to submit her comment on the petition for quo warranto within a period of 10 days from receipt of notice.
Associate Justice Marvic Leonen dissented, saying the petition should be dismissed instantly. Yesterday, Solicitor General Jose Calida led the filing of the petition seeking to unseat Sereno since her appointment is allegedly void from the beginning. Her integrity to qualify as a Chief Justice is being questioned because of her alleged failure to file her sullens. In a statement, Sereno spokesperson Attorney Josa de Inlas says the petition should have been dismissed outright since under the Constitution, a sitting Chief Justice can only be removed by impeachment. Meanwhile, the Supreme Court dismissed the petition filed by Attorney Oliver Lozano asking the justices to remove Sereno from office. The court says the petition has no sufficient grounds. Roderick Mendoza, UNTV, News and Rescue, Manila.
Meanwhile, the House will not speed up the impeachment process against Chief Justice Maria Lourdes Sereno now that there is a quo warranto petition filed against her. Grace Casin will tell us why.
The lower house will wait for the Supreme Court to decide on the quo warranto petition against Chief Justice Maria Lourdes Sereno. According to House Majority Floor Leader Rudy Fariñas, once the articles of impeachment is referred to the plenary, they will have until October 31, 2018 to act on it.
Pag nakikita ko na may serious challenge on the legitimacy of the officer in question, why still, hintayin ko muna yun dahil hindi naman, this will be of utmost importance by the Supreme Court. That will be resolved in a month's time, hindi naman magtatagal yan eh.
House Speaker Pantalon Alvarez says it is important that the House waits for the SC decision if the appointment of Sereno was indeed valid, because the impeachment proceedings can be applied to officials of the government that are validly appointed.
Kasi ang mangyayari dyan, kapag halimbawa nag-grant yung Supreme Court ng quo warranto, ibig sabihin, in-invalidate yung appointment. So ano pa yung i-impeach namin? Wala na.
Magdalo Party List Representative Gary Alejano, however, believes that the evidence of the House against CJ Sereno may have been weak. That is why the leadership does not want to proceed with the impeachment trial.
Well, the fact that they wanted to wait for the result of the quo warranto petition, that means they're not confident with the impeachment being favored by the senators.
The minority group also believes that there must be collusion between the House of Representatives and other SC justices to oust Sereno, which Impeachment Committee Chairman Reynaldo Umali denies.
Some of the justices in the Supreme Court, I believe, connive with members of the House in order to remove the Chief Justice.
Mahirap yatang gawin yun na susubok ako makipagsabwatan sa mga hindi ko alam na kasasabwatin ko, no?
Grace Casin, UNTV News and Rescue, House of Representatives.
Albay Representative Edsel Lagman advises Chief Justice Maria Lourdes Sereno to implore the 7 associate justices who voted for her to take an indefinite leave to inhibit themselves in the deliberation of the quo warranto petition filed by Solicitor General Jose Calida. Lagman notes that the 6 of them had appeared in the impeachment committee, thus may not be able to take an impartial stand on the case. House Speaker Alvarez, on the other hand, opposed the said idea.
The respondent or an intervenor, if there's an intervenor, can file a motion to compel them to desist from participating or inhibiting themselves from the proceedings.
Bakit naman sila mag-i-inhibit? Trabaho nila yun. Di ba?
The Department of the Interior and Local Government, or DILG, is now investigating where the local government of Malay used the environmental fees it collected from tourists visiting the island of Boracay. Marge Pelayo will tell us why.
After finding out violations of environmental laws, Building Code of the Philippines and the Fire Code of the Philippines by business establishments in Boracay Island, the Department of the Interior and Local Government or DILG is now investigating where the local government of Malay used the environmental fees it collected from local and foreign tourists who entered the island. Authorities uncovered a 10-year collection made by the Malay LGU from 2008 to 2018. The Malay government is charging 75 pesos to every tourist visiting the island. Based on the figures of the Department of Tourism or DOT, 2 million tourists visited Boracay last year. The number is higher than 16% recorded in 2016. The investigation of the DILG reveals that a local ordinance issued by the Malay LGU mandates the environmental fee collected in Boracay be transferred to the province's general funds. This means that aside from maintaining order in the island and protecting its environment, the local government may use the amount for any program or activity it may conduct or implement. The DILG may file charges against the officials of the city once they are proven to have committed anomaly in the use of the said environmental fee.
And if there are people who are liable, officials, local or even international, for officials, it should be identified and cases should be filed against them.
On the other hand, the local government of Malay says it is open to any investigation regarding its use of the said fund.
Wala kami tinatago dyan kasi wala kaming problema dyan sa COA.
March Pelayo, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
The local government of Palawan prepares for the arrival of huge cruise ships in the province this month. Maris Federes will tell us why.
The arrival of 12 cruise ships in Palawan is seen to help boost the tourism industry of the province. The huge cruise ships are expected to arrive this month. According to the City Tourism Office, businesses such as hotels, restaurants, and resorts in the province would gain from the possible influx of tourists. Local officials explain it is also an opportunity for Palawan to show to the world the beauty of the province, particularly its underground river, which is one of the new 7 wonders of the world.
Maganda yung imahe ng lungsod ng Puerto Princesa sa kabuuan, no? Maging ng lalawigan ng Palawan, sa kabuuang mukha ng turismo sa tingin ng mga ng buong mundo, being the best island in the world.
City Tourism Officer Eileen Cynthia Amorao says the arrival of the said cruise ships is also expected to help the province achieve its 2 million tourist arrival target this year.
Sinasabing meron tayong mga security issues pero so far so good, na patunayan naman natin sa buong mundo na wala naman security threat dito sa lungsod ng Puerto Princesa at nagdagsa pa rin yung ating mga turista.
Aside from the underground river in Puerto Princesa, Palawan also boasts of the islands of Coron and El Nido, which are among the top tourist destinations in the country. Maris Federes, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
Meanwhile, some lawmakers believe that it is high time to create a department that will focus on disaster management. Nel Maribohok will tell us why.
The Oversight Committee on the Philippine Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Act of 2010 inquires about the slow implementation of programs and rehabilitation efforts in affected areas of Zamboanga Siege and Super Typhoon Yolanda last 2013. According to Senator Gringo Onasan, until now there are still displaced families in Tacloban City and even in Zamboanga. Because of the seemingly slow implementation of government programs, Senator Panfilo Lacson believes it is high time to establish a department that will focus on disaster management.
Na-experience ko to nung nasa Yolanda ako na wala kaming ginawa kundi mag-meeting and very short sa implementation. Kung merong talagang agency, lead agency that will assume all responsibility, at least yung implementation mapapabilis.
Some government line agencies support the said proposal.
There should be a form of like a unitary command that will deal with disasters.
Ang major coordinator ngayon ay Office of Civil Defense. Definitely kailangan silang palakasin, kailangan dagdagan ng tao.
To date, a bill creating an agency or department on disaster management is being undertaken by the Technical Working Group in the lower house. Senator Lacson says he will push for the passage of its counterpart bill in the Senate. If this will become law, the NDRRMC and Office of the Civil Defense will eventually be abolished. Nel Maribohok, UNTV News and Rescue, Senate of the Philippines.
A Japanese volcano, which featured in a 1960s James Bond movie, shot smoke and ash thousands of meters into the sky on Tuesday. The latest volcanic activity prompted the cancellation of flights to and from a nearby airport, with the eruption likely to continue for some time. Shinmodake in Japan's southernmost main island of Kyushu had been erupting on a smaller scale since March 1st, when entrance to the 1,400-meter high peak was restricted. Japan has 110 active volcanoes and monitors 47 of them around the clock. The International Labor Organization believes that the Philippines can be the first green economy in Asia. Maya Bermudez tells us why.
The Philippines has a huge potential in becoming the first green economy in Asia, according to the International Labor Organization. This after the launch earlier of TESDA's technical and vocational education training related to the creation of solar panels, electric tricycles, e-bikes, among others. The agri-fisheries, tourism, and automotive sectors are said to be the top destination of individuals that will land on green jobs.
Philippines has shown great potential, not only in this sector. I'm sure that we can do a big impact. Like I said, Green Jobs Act is unique in ASEAN region.
More decent and productive jobs are said to be awaiting for people in the said sectors. 300,000 jobs are available for TESDA scholars, while 550,000 students are targeted to be under the said training.
We have to revisit our curriculum or curricula, our training regulations, to make sure that every job is green. So we are into greening of the jobs, greening of our industries, greening of our culture, greening of our fisheries, and everything else.
Under the Republic Act 10771, or the Philippine Green Jobs Act of 2016, business enterprises who can give environmental-friendly jobs are subjected to taxable income cut of 50% from its total skills and research development training expenses. Maya Bermudez, UNTV News and Rescue, Manila.
And those are the reasons behind the news March 6, 2018. I am William Theo, and because we need to know, we will always ask why. Thank you for watching Y News.